Hi, it's Peter Morse from your Faculty Association. I've been hearing so many rumors and so many concerns flying across campus from so many different people that I wanted to take a few of your minutes to explain what we're seeing happening here at the Faculty Association and our response to a lot of those concerns that are out there. Last Thursday at the Representative Assembly meeting, I shared this following presentation talking about potential budget actions that could be on the horizon if we agree to them. But the main thing I wanted to really try to get across to you is that the rumors and misconceptions that are floating about have to be dispelled, confronted, and opposed wherever you come across them. So here's a list of a number of things that I've heard just in the last week or two that, we've got no option but to continue to reduce hours for classes, for student services, or, the headwinds are so strong, there's nothing we can do. There aren't any easy choices. And, we've got to cut now to balance the budget. That's all that we could possibly do. I've even heard people, concerned that the college is going to get taken over by an external entity. None of these things are true. None of these things are happening to us in any time frame that I've seen. So please don't accept them, don't repeat them, and confront them whenever you encounter them with some of the information perhaps that you might get from this presentation. So here are some facts. All right, we know that faculty and students have borne the brunt of the ongoing cuts for years now. We know that full-time faculty are not being replaced and that our part-time colleagues are losing their job. About nearly 300 of our colleagues have lost jobs over the past few years. On average, we know that the college budget is ending about $4 million better than predicted by the administration. And we have presented a number of ways that could help the budget get on stronger footing. One of those things that we have put out there that the districts thus far has not been interested in engaging on us with is to provide part-time faculty health benefits of the form that would lead to state reimbursement. There's a program at the state level with ongoing money, $200 odd million a year, that goes to districts who offer particular kinds of health plans to their part-time faculty. If we engaged and enrolled in this particular plan, it could save the district $2.5 million or more by being part of the plan. We know that full-time faculty retirees are not being replaced. This year, that's about $1 million worth of savings that the district is pocketing, even assuming that we have part-time faculty who step in and teach those sections that the full-timers would have taught. If the college continues to do this for another year or so, that amount of savings balloons up to about $2.5 million. There's a cost to that on departments for sure, but there is a way that this could really be booked in a way that improves the college's fiscal footing. Another thing that we've suggested is allowing what's called intersession banking. So if full-time faculty members, fundamentally what it would mean is that they would agree that, oh, you know what, I won't get paid for the classes I'm teaching this summer or the counseling hours that I'm doing this summer, but I'll bank that for the future and I can use it somewhere down the road. Again, a voluntary enrollment in this particular plan could save, $900,000 a year or more, depending upon the numbers of faculty members who do take up this particular possibility. So what that would do is it would reduce the expenditures on salaries, and yet it would increase or allow us to maintain the revenues through student enrollment. So we've had faculty and students suffering from reductions over these many years. Why not consider reducing management expenditures by 5% this year and the next? If you do that, that would lead to about $2 million in ongoing savings if it really was part of a true restructuring of the college. Malibu campus is another area that's terribly underutilized. It is definitely not bringing in revenues through student enrollments that at the level that would kind of make it a break-even situation. So our usage plans really are always going to see that campus running at a loss operating wise. We can argue and discuss why it may be valuable to have a campus like that in that part of our district, and there's many reasons for that. But the college should really be fighting hard to find a way to reduce its liability there by about $1 million a year, right? Just find some fraction, and then maybe that's a third of the operating costs. Who knows? But find a way to reduce that by about $1 million. When you add these things together, just these few, you end up with, real impactful savings for the district. But there are many other ideas, right? We didn't have fee-based instruction a couple of years ago. We just started about 2 years ago, looking at this, year and a half, and increase that. Why not, right? Are there ways that we can increase that and increase the revenues that's been generating? A really important one is to support the Chancellor's Office in its proposal to the state that would adjust the student-centered funding formula as far as its base allocation for student enrollment. Without going into the details, we were told by the Vice President of Business Services that that's probably about a $2.5 million increase in revenue for the college with a small change to the funding formula. There's other areas that the Chancellor's Office is requesting more funds in these sort of categorical areas that are funding lots of good programs, success programs for our students. So let's support the Chancellor's Office in requesting that 11% increase in funds that we would receive in that area. And then, acknowledge those ongoing budget windfalls that happen year after year after year. When you do that, if you add all these things into a budget calculator that the college's business services lead put together, that's what this is. I'm not going to stop and pause on this, but you can freeze the video if you want to. But, in the yellow areas, I've added in those kinds of reductions and savings that I've just talked about. And what you end up with on the bottom line is that the college's operating deficit or surplus, right? The deficit shrinks and we end up with a potential surplus. The ending fund balance for the college, the amount of money the college has on hand at the end of the year, is up in the healthy 8% range. And the college is on stable footing, right? So that's just with these possibilities. And I'm sure there are many others. So I want to make sure that it's clear that the Board of Trustees does have options that they can direct the administration to engage over. And the kinds of options that do not directly affect students or faculty in providing the direct services to students that we know our students are here for. So again, when you start hearing rumors that we have to take cuts or there has to be some other kind of drastic action taken, I just want you to remember and then to direct folks to the fact that there are options, there are choices that can be made, and there are choices that can keep the college focused on its primary mission, which is our students. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you joining with us in communicating these kinds of things to the administration, to the community at large, because I know that a lot of you are concerned, a lot of you are fearful. There are ways to continue moving through the situation we're in that is not going to harm our students and harm us. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining me for this time, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.